results
All right.
from survey and stuff.
Welcome everybody to the May 9th meeting with our Commission on Aging Well. I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we are going to modify the agenda because Gabrielle and Bill have commitments, so we want to put you on right away. Okay, so if we would like to move to agenda item number 4, transportation update, you're on.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, so I kind of went back and I looked at last month's meeting where, you know.
Quick introductions.
Oh,
I think, yeah.
always thinking, yes. Bill Jutzer, I'm now the third newest alder since April instead of the newest alder. So I took office last April, so I've been here just a bit over a year. I've been in Fitchburg since 1996. By day, I'm in IT consulting. I do a lot of programming and database work. Hobbies, I've got a wife, I've got 3 kids. I like to ride my bike, go running, camping, biking, swimming, those sorts of things.
And Bill's been on a rep for transmission and transit for
Yes.
the last year. Yeah. And I'm Gabriella Gerhardt, Alder District 2 as well. We share the same district. And I was elected back in 2020. And I actually also serve on TTC via the Plan Commission. So I'm a Plan Commission rep to TTC. And I was on TTC for the 3 years prior to that.
I'm sorry, TTC?
Transportation and Transit Commission.
Thank you.
Yes, which is why we're here today. So.
Yeah, so the mayor came last month, and I thought these folks really know what's going on TTC, and just to get a different sort of point of view. And I know we've had discussions about transportation in the past too. So I just thought the more we can understand about the city's initiative for transportation, the better, to get some different views. So, and also Gabriella is our new council president too.
Yes.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Oh,
Yeah.
So
congratulations.
if you give her a candy bar, maybe she'll.
Yeah. Is it that easy? So.
I didn't
so-
just suggest bribing an elected official on camera.
And our new council liaison, Donald, he'll be running a few minutes late, so he'll be here shortly. And I felt like we'll go around and do introductions with the commission after, because I know these guys have other jobs to get to. So, but thank you for taking the time this morning. All right.
Yeah, so last month you heard from the mayor, and she talked about, in the 2024 budget, the $7,200 she had set aside for supplemental transportation needs. Traffic study that apparently we'll be undertaking in 2025, which I don't know what your understanding was, but when was that supposed to have been done?
The intercity transit feasibility study?
Yeah, I mean, that's a couple years in the
That's been
making
in
now.
discussion, I think, for 3 years now. And we got funding for it, but I think there's been a lot of barriers to getting it done. And the most recent barrier is put it out to RFP,
Right.
and we didn't get
No
any
responses.
responses.
And
So,
Oh,
And can I
I know.
ask that, the need to have, because I've been through 2 studies already, like what new information do you think we're gonna find with another study?
Well,
I mean,
and we'll talk about BRT, but I'm
Okay.
sure that's gonna play into it.
Okay.
yeah, it wasn't just about the senior center transportation issue, which is certainly one piece of it. It was also gonna talk about the feasibility of expanding bus transit around the city, and also potentially park and rides to
Okay.
as another means to expand bus transit.
Okay,
But I don't know exactly what the it's a smaller study, so maybe there's a lot of firms that are not interested.
Sure.
We don't know.
Yeah.
But
And those were the 3 things, so getting, doing our own transportation system, expanding bus service, and where, we could put park and rides.
right, okay,
Yeah, and that was put out to RFP in January, and there was nobody who bid. And the last we heard from transportation engineer Ross Kaler was that he had a pool of firms that had submitted, for previous or different RFPs, and he might be able to pull one of those in to do the study, but I don't think we've really heard anything since like February on that.
yeah.
We should maybe follow up with him. We've got a TTC meeting next Monday.
Okay.
We can ask about it at that point and see if he's got any further updates.
Okay.
She also talked about the, you know, the $80,000 that's in the CIP for the senior center shuttle and then BRT. And I guess maybe I'll just kind of, I threw together a few notes here and some snippets of documents that I can go ahead and share.
I'm sorry, were you saying that the $80,000 is already in place, or that's the?
That's the plan for the capital improvement plan for this year, which will get adopted in July.
Okay,
Theoretically, an alder could take that out by amendment.
okay.
But the mayor, I think the plan is for her to put it in her initial proposal.
2025.
I believe so.
Yeah, I think so too, but I have to double check. But yeah, and that document won't come out. They're in early
Yeah.
phase of it, but it'll come out in the near future.
Yeah.
So just a couple of things here, and so what you're looking at is one of the slides that we saw in the April Committee of the Whole meeting. This was from the referendum survey that went out to every household in Fitchburg. You know, gauging the public's interest in support of various initiatives, and you can see transit here is second last. Make of that what you will. So, I mean, it's,
Just a quick question about the response rate.
yes,
How many responses did you get?
We had over
Percentage.
2,000.
Yeah.
Fairly
And
good response rate, not the highest, but kind of a decent response according to the survey.
What's the percentage?
we're like 16 or 17% in.
It was 7,000 households, so it
Okay.
wasn't based on individuals, it was
Right.
households, right?
Yeah,
So that sounds better than.
yeah, so that's even more than 16 or 17% then. That'd be closer to, that'd be like 28%, 2 out of 7.
Pretty good.
And I'll also say that over 65 demographic and homeowner demographic were by far the largest plurality or even majority in the responses. So, I mean, it's kind of, you know, the demographic you're interested in, older people primarily in a home that may or may not have the ability to drive anymore and require services from the senior center, and still transit is, you know, barely over half had a kind of a high or a medium favorability. Sure, Boss.
Why did you add the comment primarily in the home? When you said the seniors who are primarily, that's the ones that responded to the survey?
Correct, yeah. So the responses to the survey were primarily,
When you talk about older people.
the over 65 demographic was overrepresented by like a factor of 3 compared to the overall demographic of the city. Similarly, homeowners, I think homeowners were like 85% versus renters 15%. The vast
Homeowners
majority.
usually have a car or access to a car versus renters.
Exactly. Well, and
Yes and no.
more than that.
Right, it depends, it depends.
More than that, the homeowners are generally single-family detached homes, which are the most difficult to get to places. You know, if you're in multifamily, there's a greater chance you've got a bus that you could take. Whereas if you're in a single-family home, you might be out in the boonies somewhere, and if you're unable to drive, you might be in a predicament.
Okay. And Janice, what were you saying? I'm sorry.
Oh, no, it's fine. But I do have a question. In your response, do you have any idea in terms of zip codes or districts in terms of responses? I understand that older adults, you know, there's 2 out of your 2,000. Do you have any idea about zip codes in terms of
I feel like we asked
responses?
about that, and we were not able to get that level of detail.
I can't recall. I can take a look at my notes and see, but I don't recall us
I
getting
feel like
that
I
information.
watched it, and after this meeting, I will share the video on demand where you can watch the committee of the whole with the consultants explaining the referendum.
I simply just asked that question
Yeah,
only
I feel
because
like they
Pittsburgh
couldn't-
is so wide.
Couldn't
Right.
break it down.
Yeah, they also they weren't able at that time to piece out Latino Hispanic community members who actually filled out the survey.
Oh, okay.
There were very few native Spanish speakers who filled out the survey.
That
I
they
don't
were
think there
aware
were
of,
any.
because of the way the survey was set up. There was some kind of,
Well, so the thing that came to you in the mail, the only section in Spanish said, click here for more information. It didn't tell you big and bold, hey, we want you to fill out a survey. So
And no Spanish language surveys were submitted. You know, that were written originally in Spanish, so that's.
There were a few on paper, I thought.
I thought no, but.
Well, it was essentially,
Yeah.
zero,
Okay.
which is unfortunate.
But I will say that the transit, in terms of the description in the survey, was, I think it was very focused on bus transit. I don't know, the final decision about the referendum, how the question is worded is not decided.
Sure.
So I don't know if people get the impression that it could potentially be more things than just a single bus route.
Yeah.
So,
And I think this month, the council will be deciding, are we gonna go forward with the referendum? And if we do, then there will be an education campaign for the next several months until it's time for the public to actually vote on the measure. And so part of that educational campaign would, specifically for transit, would be saying, okay, look, we're getting BRT, there might be an expanded 65 and 75, and if you live within 0.7 miles of the route, you're eligible for paratransit,
Right.
all of this information should be part of that educational campaign. So, we're beating people over the head with it. Hey, this would be really cool if we could get this. So,
One of the things that, if I remember right on the questionnaire, was how high of a level of financing are you willing to support?
Yes.
And for transit, do you have any data on that?
well, so you can see the number there, the 22% who rated it high and 37% who, or I'm sorry, 27 and 27 for high and medium. So I see Gabriella frantically looking through her notes in there. I'm sure that information is available, and it'll be in that presentation that we had at the
I
committee.
think people would say, oh yeah, I would really like to see a good transit system, but I'm only willing to let my taxes go up $5.
Right.
Or something like that,
I think people were looking at the overall picture of the whole referendum and what they would be willing to support
Okay.
as a block, and not as much as the individual pieces.
Oh,
Like, I think
The survey was at a fairly high level.
gotcha.
I mean, there were specific examples in there, spending, these are some of the things that we're talking about when we're asking you about this specific aspect of it. And so, number of police and fire and city staff, that sort of thing was part of that survey. I'm trying to recall whether there were any concrete examples listed for transit. I don't know that there were.
I don't think so.
At some point, I would love to see more detail on the educational component that goes with that, the strategies and tactics that support all of that.
Yeah, we have a consultant that the city has hired that's been through dozens of referenda like this. And
I anticipate we'll be discussing that in more detail.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
right. Okay, so that's the result of the community survey. I guess I'll move on to discuss some BRT related things. So this is
That's bus rapid
transit.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
correct.
bus, right?
Yes.
Rapid Route B, they're gonna call it, yes. So
Okay.
this is what it's gonna look like in terms of service. So it'll be every 15 minutes during the largest portion of the day, and then half-hour service on Sundays and evenings and very early in the morning. The actual route through Fitchburg, it's gonna come down Park Street and then jump over to Badger. Is my cursor visible? Yeah, so right up here, it'll jump over to Badger Road and then hop onto Fish Hatchery Road, and it'll come down. So every one of these black dots with a white in there is a stop. And so it'll come up through Cahill, Maine, and then once it hits McKee Road, it's gonna, this is the possible extension that was talked about. But the plan is that it would turn here on Brendan, make a little loop up Triverton Pike, hit McKee Road, and then go back north. So the extension we were talking about was, hey, why don't we bring this all the way down to the civic campus, right? We've got the library, we've got City Hall, we've got the senior center, we've got the community center.
It's all here.
And unfortunately, if you look at a graph, or at the satellite imagery here, here's Fish Hatchery Road coming down, right? And so here's McKee Road. we've got Mickelson Parkway here with a fair amount of people, but on the east side of Fish Hatchery Road, there's a few single-family homes here. It's a wooded area. We come down, there's more woods without any homes at all. And so to bring the bus down here, and then it would be, you know, these homes over here on the west side, once you get south of Sherrill, they don't really have direct access to Fish Hatchery Road either. So trying to get, there's just not enough density to justify running the route is what we're hearing from Madison Metro. And they need to, you know, it's not just them telling us that, it's the fact that the federal government, which is providing about 80% of the funds, wants to know that the funds are being spent well, and what that means is high service. And
So can we turn it some to go through a community as opposed to straight down Fish? Or, I'm just asking, I don't know
Yeah,
how that's
well,
done.
so whatever we do, we would have to make sure that there's enough ridership and that we don't jeopardize the, you know, the 15-minute headways. And we would need an awful lot of infrastructure for the bus stops, right? These things they're all center running, and typically we'll have 2 lanes of traffic on the side in each direction.
But so they did offer an alternate option in
Which
terms
is
of,
my next
yes,
slide.
okay. I think we should talk about the.
But you know, I don't know if it's mandatory to have possible riderships, but the destination is the important thing to keep in mind, that this civic campus is the destination.
Yes.
And that's the big concern. It's not how many people can we pick up in that 1 mile slot, because it's only 1 mile.
Correct, 1 out of 11 or something, or 12, you know, so it's not an insignificant fraction of it. Yes, I mean, so there's,
We agree.
your point is taken.
Yes, we've discussed this with Madison Metro.
And just a
Quite a
quick
lot.
question, does Bus Rapid Transit bring Metro Plus as well? Because I know a commuter route doesn't, but is that considered a regular route?
Is that-
It is, because it runs all day, every
Okay,
day.
that's what I was assuming.
Yeah, so the first slide I showed, it was 15-minute headways all day, every day,
So that's
and
regular
then
route.
30 minutes
Yeah.
outside of peak times.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the proposed solution, which I think seems pretty nice actually.
And has some benefits, alternate benefits.
Yeah, is to expand the 75 here and running to the west and the 65 running to the east, so every 15 minutes we would have BRT coming down, and it would hit Triverton Pike here, and then you'd be able to get off and transfer onto the 75 every other bus, right, or the 65 because the current, you know, the 75 and the 65 are both commuter routes, like you said, and they've got like half-hour headways. So the idea would be, let's expand the 65 and 75 half-hour headways to the full day. And I don't remember if they gave us enough, if they've talked about weekend service, what that would look like. That might be every hour or something. But this would provide.
Those 2, 65 and 75 are commuter routes?
Now.
Currently.
They currently are. So they run from like 6 to 9 in the morning and then 4 to 6 in the evening.
Okay, but if you expanded that, then we would get the
The Metro Plus.
Metro Plus.
Absolutely.
And how far does the 75 go?
Yeah, because
That currently goes to Epic, and I don't think they would plan on changing that. So
Oh, yeah, I can get that.
This runs out to,
Actually, we actually
Well,
don't pay much or at all. I don't think we would pay anything for the 75.
Okay,
It's paid exclusively, so we get the
Because
benefit of it without actually
yeah, we don't
paying
wanna mess
into
with
it.
them then.
and then the 65 would, you can see it running here down to the Civic campus.
Currently, it does not do, it does the loop around,
It goes back.
so it does
Right.
not hit, it doesn't connect with the 75 at all currently, or.
But it does hit Lacey now.
It
And then
does
turn.
this little loop down here.
Gotcha.
So we would have all-day service, and it would be every half an hour during the day, and probably every hour out off of peak times, and probably every hour on the weekends. I don't recall specific details about that, but you could get all the way from Verona to the Civic campus and out to Terravesa, and and up through Southdale and then on into Madison. You know, 65 currently does, you know, from Civic Campus to the east and then running to the north. That's not going to change significantly. It would just be this, you know, the 75's eastern terminus and the 65's western terminus would be the southern terminus for Rapid Route B.
And that's going into 65 is going into town of Madison, correct or no?
The
No,
former
that's-
town of Madison.
Or, I'm sorry,
It runs up on Rimrock Road here,
Yeah,
so
Okay,
Okay.
that's what I thought.
Southdale,
Yeah.
correct.
Sorry.
It does not go down to the square.
No.
I don't believe
I'd
so.
have to look, yeah.
But it does hook up to other routes once you get into Madison, so you could transfer and get yourself to the square.
So if you're taking the B route, for example, going from B south to where 75 and 65 split, I don't know how to ask this, but what would be the flow of traffic in terms of going from one route to another? Would there be a long waiting time? Would there be?
Well, the 65 and 75 are gonna be half-hour headways, and Rapid Route B will be 15-minute headways. So basically every other Rapid Route B bus
Every other,
would meet up with the 65 and 75. And I presume the 65 and 75 schedules would be synced so that if you take 75 to Triverton Pike, you could have minimal waiting time to get on the 65 or Rapid Route B, you know, and similarly with.
so you're not stranded in a station forever, or?
Right, ideally you'd be stranded for at most 15 minutes.
Okay. I didn't know we had stations. When did we get stations?
So the B route would come down Fish Hatchery, and it would turn by Summit, and then it would turn north next to the waterway. that
Yes,
goes through.
exactly,
Is that where the terminal is gonna be, where they make the transfer?
yes.
Correct.
So if you wanted to take the B to the 75, you would have to cross McKee to get to the 75 booth that's there?
I doubt it. I think, so right here, you can see,
Oh,
here's
I see
Fish
what you're
Hatchery
saying.
Road coming down. So Rapid Route B would come down on Fish Hatchery Road. It would hang right on Brendan here, and then it would stop on Triverton Pike. And I would presume that the 75 and 65 would also, you would probably jump on at that same point. So if you live north of McKee, you'd probably have to cross to get it.
Well, so
Yeah,
currently
but
it
see over
comes,
there, that's the bus stop, right over.
You mean this
That's
guy?
the 75, no, a little bit further.
it's right on the corner.
Yeah, you see
Right, that's it
yeah,
right
yeah.
there. That's the bus stop for the 75. So, is the 75 route gonna be changed then? Where the 75 goes down to the Pike and over to Fish Hatch and up?
It's a really good question,
Those-
and we can
yeah.
ask that next
Those
time. This is all very tentative.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, this is all like early, they just are proposing this as an alternate to extending the BRT. And so all of this is up for discussion. But you make a very, very good point
Because
about
that's a really
having to cross the
tricky,
road.
I walk across that all the time. That's a tricky
It's
intersection
not
for a
fun.
person with a walker.
Yes.
And I think it's reasonable to request a shift to the route to accommodate we'll talk about it. That's a very, very good question that we have not answered. But, and if we are able to keep the buses in that station, it's sheltered, it's a really nice station. It's a place that's much easier to wait.
The one that's currently there?
No, the one that will be there.
The one
with
that
bus-
will be there.
With bus or rapid transit. Right now, there's no bus stop there.
Yeah. And they could walk over to Walgreens and.
Yes.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
restaurants
and
there.
it's, you know, it's a fairly short walk to get into McKee Farms Park there.
Okay.
You know, it's probably half a mile from the Chapel Valley Senior Apartments, which isn't great, but, you know,
It's a walk.
yeah.
But you got Metro Plus and people.
I don't think it's a half mile.
Yeah.
That's
That's
true.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't walk that.
But you also have to really think about the older adults, like it may not seem like a long walk.
No, right.
For some
I can
people,
walk it.
yeah, but there's other older adults that would not be able to,
Right.
Not half a mile is a long walk.
But that's where the Metro Plus comes in,
yeah.
because then we just register them and then we can get them. we just need that.
0.4 miles.
What's the cost for doing this second option here?
We don't have estimates right now.
Right.
And I think that's just because of the nature of its early phase. We've asked if we can extend the current Route B to that loop to get it down so that there is more
Right.
service for that area getting into the city of Madison.
Currently stops here
That's-
in Cahill, Maine.
That's under discussion, so I think they're gonna consider an extension for that. But all the rest of it is still early, and it does, I think if they're able to extend Route B, and maybe change the route of the 75, you could maybe have that connection before we hit the bus rapid transit reality, because that's not gonna come until 2028, it's looking like, so that station won't
Right.
be there until 2028.
Route B, the Route
project
B
timeline.
comes up onto Cahill
Yes.
currently. Is that the plan in
continue
the
to do
future?
that.
It's gonna continue to do that?
Yes.
And Route B goes, it's funny, every other bus goes a different direction. One of them comes up Cahill, the other one goes down to, what is the one by, the hotel? Comes up that way, one of them goes up this way, one of them comes up that way.
Yeah,
One goes around and comes,
yeah, it's kind of funny.
okay.
But you can see that it jogs off of Fish Hatchery Road and then into Cahill, Maine here.
And that's good because then it's a steep hill down to Fish Hatch and people and walkers from my community would have it's much easier to be picked up right there on Cahill, yeah.
Yeah, I think we've talked about it, I hope that that's something we can do in the near future, would be to loop that current rapid Route B around that. I see no reason why they couldn't make that happen,
Yeah,
but it obviously is gonna cost
particularly
something.
if they have this attitude that you have to be close to
Right.
homes that,
And it's appropriate, I think it's very appropriate, given the fact that they're planning to do the BRT in that way.
Yeah, right.
I think extend the service
makes
that currently
sense.
exists
Yeah.
at that scale, at that frequency, down to where you're gonna eventually have it anyway. I think that's a reasonable request, and I'm hoping that we can see that.
Okay,
For the,
thanks for
just one more
presenting.
question, the bus rapid transit, I'm curious, because it said it goes right down the center, right?
Correct.
And the 2 lanes on the
Well,
side.
and I didn't include a cross-section here, but, so picture Fish Hatchery Road right now. There's
Yeah.
3 lanes of traffic in each direction. So the center 2 lanes are for regular motor vehicle traffic, and the outside lane on the right is mixed bus and bike traffic. So what they're gonna do is, yes, we're gonna move, so the buses are run in that center lane in each direction. And then the
And then they
2,
just veer off to the stop? People aren't crossing lanes of traffic
No,
to get on the
you've got
bus?
stops in the middle of the street.
correct. So everybody.
Everyone will have to cross half the street to get to the station.
Yeah,
I think the reason they talk about it is because no one has to cross the full length of the street
Right.
to get to the station.
So
They
right
only have to
now-
cross half.
Okay.
Right now, you're either already on the side of the road where the bus comes, or you have to walk across the entire road to get to the bus stop.
Got it, okay,
And so this way, and there'll be doors on both sides of the bus,
sure.
and you can cross, everybody crosses to the middle, there'll be signal priority for the buses, so, well, and possibly additional, updates for pedestrians,
Got it,
so you get an easier time to get yourself halfway there.
Sure.
And then there'll be a covered shelter, and you can, I think you'll be able to work out if you need to, if you don't have, you can replenish the amount on your fare card and that sort of thing. And it'll be faster boarding, so like when you get on, you'll just swipe your card as you go through, and so you don't have to stop and put coins in or whatever, you won't have that.
So if with the rapid transit system, the bus rapid BRT, then would it still go up onto Cahill? It would have to cross 2 lanes of traffic, and I think it's an articulated bus, isn't it?
It is.
2 buses hooked together.
We asked about this plan is still to go up Cahill. They think it still will work.
It will have signal.
Make that turn?
It will have signal priority, so crossing the lanes of traffic hopefully isn't gonna be an
They'll
enormous.
sync the signals to do it. I mean,
They'll still
you
have
think
to-
about, there's places like Phoenix, Arizona, they have them all over, and it's that middle lane with people come in one side or the other to get on or off the bus. I mean, they sync it pretty, it's a
It's
neat
gotta be
plan, it's gonna be construction work for the streets.
Yeah.
But once it's set up, it's really a slick plan. Salt Lake City has it, Parts of San Francisco has it. That middle,
I'm sorry.
no, that's okay. I just said, I was thinking of where I've been where that's worked, and it actually does work pretty well. And actually, it moves much faster too.
And with Cahill, Maine, they think it's important to get the bus closer to those apartments and that
Right.
density.
Condos over there.
Yeah.
Rather than having to walk all the way down. But I mean, the big piece about best rapid transit, that's, the good thing is that it's more frequent and there's better service in a lot of ways. The bad part is that people have to walk farther to get to the stations. There's fewer stops because that's
how it's set up.
Right.
to hit the 15-minute
Yeah.
Right.
headway, so it's just,
Yeah.
that's just how it is, and that's
And those
the-
articulated buses can make a 90-degree turn. I used to take it all the time in Chicago. I didn't want us to be in the middle of the bus, but I mean, they can,
It's
it's like a snake.
one of those things.
Well, I know Gabriella's gotta run, so it's gonna take
They're
your
pretty
time.
I have to leave. Thank you so much.
Thank you for
for having
Thank
me.
you guys for your information.
And
Too
please
many
let us know, please let us,
That's fine.
Go ahead.
please let us know too, but either Bill or I, if you have additional questions, because we can
sure.
continue talking.
Okay, you probably don't.
Thank you.
Yeah, all right, you got a few more slides, or?
Yeah, so I just
Thank you.
wanted to, touch base here on the project timeline. So, we're sitting here in planning and environmental design, and so that'll happen for the next couple of years, and then they'll be constructing it for 2 to 3 years, and we should be opened in 2028. So, as Gabriella mentioned, maybe there's, between now and 2028, we can extend service down, and they can, kind of get into the groove of looping along Brendan and Triverted Pike before they head back up. Who knows? The only other thing I really wanted to touch on with regard to transit is, we already showed, where was it? Well, I pulled up the map and I showed you it was like 0.4 mile from the Chapel Valley Apartments to the bus stop, and even like right here. So this is Civic Campus. Here's the library and the bus stop, and then the senior center is over here,
Yeah.
and it's a 1/6 of a mile to walk from the bus stop to the senior center.
Yeah.
And it's got a 25-foot
Incline.
climb. You can see it right here. We're looking out the window. So that's a problem, And then similarly, if you are in the senior apartments here out near Target and Hy-Vee and whatnot, it's a 1/5 of a mile to get you down to this bus stop.
Yeah.
And it's a similar hike if you wanted to, you can't just walk straight from the backyard here into Target. You have to go all the way down to the street and all the way up over here
Yeah.
and over to the front doors, So and there's, it's that, people talk about the last mile. Well, we should talk about the last quarter mile, really, when we're talking about elderly people possibly have issues with mobility. So the whole door-to-door thing is problematic, right? And Jill, you and I had a conversation at the pancake breakfast. And what did you tell me you as a possible solution? Was it just the fact that you've got Metro Plus and they'll come right up here?
Well, Metro Plus will be door to door, and getting that, commuter route turned to a regular route will allow folks to use the Metro Plus. And again, it's not income based, which is great, but it is physical, you have to qualify physically for Metro Plus. But the qualifications aren't super steep. We've gotten lots of people on Metro Plus. My question is, Metro Plus, they'll do whatever. As we start to load people up on Metro Plus to get over here, that's not gonna be a problem, I wouldn't assume, so that would
let's
be
say
a question.
Yeah, let's say we have expanded service on the 65, so every half an hour it's stopping at the library.
Correct.
So how would seniors, in that scenario, how would seniors typically get to the senior
Well,
center?
if they prove that they can't walk to the senior center for whatever, they have COPD, they have,
Sure.
then it's Metro Plus.
So they would do that instead of taking the 65 at all?
Exactly, they
Okay.
would do door to door from their house to the senior center.
Okay,
But by making 65 a regular route,
it
then
expands
it
the,
expands that corridor that we can.
That's what's
service
getting it
people.
close Metro
Right.
Plus, because right now it won't come down here. It goes to Chapel Valley, about a quarter mile from Chapel Valley Road right now.
Okay.
I think, or 3/4 of a mile, but it won't come down here. We're so close, but not close
But it
enough.
will drop people, 65 will drop people at the library, and then people walk over, weave their way through to the,
yeah, so
Senior
you
center?
can see the route that I put on here, so you cut through and get onto the sidewalk, and so you go along
Right.
Lacey Road here, and then there's more sidewalk that takes you up
But
through
it
the
is
parking
all
lot
uphill.
and
The
through.
clever thing that a senior can do, if you wanna back it up, is they get dropped off right there, and then they go over to the underground parking garage and go in.
Take the
And there's an
elevator.
elevator up, and they cut out that whole hill then, and you can
Right.
come out that end of the
Well, it'd
library.
be right there.
I think you could be a tour guide for that.
Yeah,
I'm already lost.
right. Yeah. Well, I mean, this is very helpful to know. I think, again, the discussion here at this level, if there's $80,000 that the mayor is putting in the CIP, and I'm not sure what that's for, if it's
That's
to
for a
buy.
shuttle.
Right, so that's
And-
maybe a subcontracted situation where we're doing.
Yeah, that's not gonna buy a shuttle.
No,
Or run
exactly,
it.
exactly.
I mean, it'll,
Yeah,
like you say, rent somebody.
right. And so that, to me, like, that's giving us that door-to-door, service for anybody at any time, depending on how often we're running that shuttle. That's, to me, the best case scenario, but what I've always said is, say we determine that the shuttle is the best way to go, can we continue to put money in the budget for that? Again, us buying a bus, that's great with the support of the Friends, I know they've, so they could support that, we could get DOT grant money, but it's the driver and the scheduler. So subcontracting to me is always a better way to go.
Yeah.
So that's great. Now, finding a proper subcontractor, but
Well,
I think we're on the
and
right
just
path.
the geography of the city is
Correct.
challenging. We've got,
right,
and I don't even have a map, I should probably do that sometime, is just map out where are the senior housing, the multifamily senior housing facilities in the city. We've got at the Chapel Valley Apartments and the new courtyard, we've got the Limerick over here, we've
we've
got,
got Highline, we got Novation Commons,
Right.
we
But-
have.
they're kind of
Spread out.
spread out, they are, yeah, so coordinating transit is,
Oh, yeah,
isn't-
right,
it's a headache.
yeah. And we're not even talking south of Lacey,
Mm-mm.
so having.
Nor are we
a shuttle
talking about people who are aging in place in their single-family detached
Right
homes.
over in Tower Hill here.
Does
too, so.
future business development influence this whole density discussion? I mean, along Fish Hatchery, there's buildings going up, there's a healthcare facility going up. How does that influence, how might that influence expansion of these routes? I'm also thinking of, there's talk about a new police building at some point.
Yeah,
Where
And
would that
that'll
go?
go right across the street from the library at the corner here of Lacey and Research Park Drive.
Oh, so if it does happen, it would go there?
That's the location.
How does that influence, I don't know, I'm just asking, it's more than just dwelling density and residential
Yeah.
that's going on in that area?
It's connecting people with the places they
That
want
might
to, like you said.
influence, how that route goes.
I
Right.
had a question on timeline. You showed that one slide where 2028, there's this one right here. That's when the BRT opens for service. Is there any way that we could do this 65, expansion of 65 bus to full service so that we could try it out and see how that works? And that would give us a stopgap measure before 2028. That's 4 years from now.
Right. That's an interesting question, yeah. So we had talked about possible expansion of the current Route B all the way down to McKee Road, instead of Cahill Main. And if that were to happen, then yeah, perhaps we could connect the 3 lines at that point ahead of bus rapid transit. That's definitely worth discussing.
Yeah, that sounds like it sounds like there's not too much involved to do that.
There really wouldn't be, yeah. I mean,
Just an
so that extra little bit
administrative-
of Route B would,
Yeah.
potentially impact the timing, the frequency. I guess I can't say for sure how much that would affect it.
That'd be a good thing to pursue, because then we have 4 years where we could, all the people along 65 there could have the, door-to-door service.
Plus, yeah.
And then for 4 years before we ever get all the way down.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's pursue that one.
And at the end of the presentation, I think there was a slide where it showed you can go to the Fact TV channel or the city's YouTube channel and find the BRT presentations. And at the end of it, they say, send an email to brt@cityofmadison.com or whatever with your questions and comments. So maybe you want to check that out.
Maybe we should draft something as a
I'll
commission.
find that link, yeah. And then a question about the referendum as it relates to transportation. It seems like there's a lot of unknowns, but if the referendum is going out in August or November, how do you know what you're gonna ask for? How do you sell that for transportation?
Right.
You can come back another time and answer that, but.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is, email BRT.
Anyway, I think that's about all I've got.
So back to my question, like how are you gonna determine how much to ask for transportation if you're not sure what all these routes are gonna look like?
That's certainly a discussion
It's still being.
we're gonna have.
Okay, Yeah.
Yeah. And we'll have to work with the city of Madison on
sure.
the expansion of those routes, what that's actually gonna look like, before we can
Right.
really determine. But, we don't spend a ton on transit right now, but I think expanding that, I feel would be a very useful service to the citizens.
Mm-hmm. I agree. All right, any other questions? All right, well, I think, my takeaway is the city's not as, there's no solid plan. I mean, there's some room for flexibility and we have some opportunities to put some input in to change, or suggestions that they could consider, so.
And if you guys wanna come up with, like I mentioned earlier, a map of where is the senior housing?
Yeah, I can work with the
And-
GIS person and
Yeah.
do that.
And not only, so, have a map that shows all the locations where there is specifically senior housing, but then also of the people who currently come here,
Right.
where are they actually living?
Yeah.
Because some of them are
Yeah.
obviously not inside those senior housing
Right,
units.
right, yeah. Because we have, the whole west side, over off of Verona Road and everything over there too. So, yeah, lots to consider. Okay, well, thank you. Thanks
All
for
right.
taking your time this morning.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
All right,
Okay,
if we
well,
can-
that's very informative.
yeah, we could continue to talk about transportation or kind of go back to the beginning. It'd be nice to get introductions as we have new members that
Sure.
we want to welcome. So maybe we just kind of
Let's
kick back
do-
to the start.
Yeah, so we'll go back to the beginning of the agenda then, and shall we do introductions right away before
Yeah,
minutes?
let's do
Sure.
it.
Okay.
Let's do, yeah. So, why don't you start?
Good morning, my name is Vance Ashby. I currently live in the Tower Hill area, and I moved into an area that was just put on the map last week. So it's out by Noble and Glen, if you guys know that area over there. It's building out really fast. Lived in Fitchburg 12 to 14 years, really like it here. Became active in the senior center. Actually, when I turned 60, because I thought that was the age you were supposed to be active in it. I know, that's a long story, but they were like, no, Vance, you can come in. So that's been fun. I've met a lot of people. I'm doing some volunteer work. But I also have I come from a political family in a lot of ways. Born and raised in Chicago, Catholic Irish, strong union family. Both parents were unionized. But also, I want us to see that we are reaching out to the entire Fitchburg community. And that's been a little frustrating for me as I come to the senior center and I see all the stuff we offer, just unbelievable stuff. And then I turn around and go in the community and I see people in need, and I'm like, or next door neighbor, and I'm like, did you call? Did you, people looking for a walker for a couple weeks, or, something that's really easy that we have over there that they have at the center, and people don't know about it, especially people in more of the apartment buildings. So I really want to see us talk about aging well. I want all of our population to age well, and that's what resources we have, which are quite a few, to have access to that, to be aware of it and have access to it. So I'm pretty excited to be here, and to be a positive addition.
Yeah, awesome.
I'll try not to ask too many questions.
All right, Donald?
Good morning, everyone. Donald Dantzler, the new alder here, one of the alders in District 3. Are we giving background information? I didn't know what so background information. I'm originally from Joliet, Illinois.
Oh, I was born there.
And I worked at JJC.
Oh, really? Yeah. So I grew up probably about 10 minutes from where JJC is located. Been in Wisconsin since about 2007 when I originally went to college. Moved away to Europe for a little while. I was playing basketball, and then I came back to Wisconsin for a graduate school at the University of Wisconsin, and then decided to just get involved with a plethora of things, more recently including the political landscape here in Fitchburg. And I was late today. I'm the board chairman at Madison Area Technical College, and I had to give an update to the foundation around where we are with the presidential search, because trying to hire a new president. Dr. Daniels is retiring.
Right.
And looking forward to serving on this committee.
Thank you, welcome.
Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Can I ask, will you be joining us live here? Or so often our alders have been just zooming in.
Yeah, I'll be here.
You'll be here?
Yeah.
Great. I like to see real faces.
I think we can go around, yeah?
Yeah, so we know.
Donald knows,
other
yeah.
people.
Go ahead, Janice, just a little background.
I'm Janice Hughes, and I know both you.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Well, the other people that,
We know Janice has been on, we know Janice.
Yeah. Okay, Donald, go ahead.
I don't know a lot about your previous life.
I think I went through this the first time I was on this. The reality is I've been a resident of Fitchburg for about 25 years. And I've seen a lot of changes. And I'm happy to see some of the changes that have occurred. I am a native of Wisconsin, out of Milwaukee. I went to school here and also up in Eau Claire. My background is human resources. And I have been a small business owner. I come from a very large family of about 10 people. I think that my reason for getting involved with the Senior Center is similar to what Vance said. I came there specifically for myself and to looking at some of the resources, but I also realized that it's focused on a certain segment within Fitchburg. And so I'm concerned in expanding these resources and doing better outreach so that everybody can be a part, so that we are really reaching out to all residents in Fitchburg, at least providing an opportunity for them to take advantage of these resources. So there you got it. That's who I am.
Thank you, Jan.
Donna.
Good morning, I'm Donna Stewart. I'm probably the newest resident of Fitchburg around at the table. I don't know that to be true, but we've only been here 3 or 4 years. We followed our adult daughter and family, and only grandchild at that time, followed them here. But we're always from Wisconsin. I spent the majority of my career at the University of Wisconsin-Stout. I was a business professor and then administrator there, and then went down to the Chicago market and was what we call a provost at a couple of schools down in that area until we moved back here. My connection here started with delivering Meals on Wheels. My husband and I have delivered, since we moved to Fitchburg, have been delivering meals and have the same kind of feeling that there is so much need that is being, there is the huge possibility to serve more people. And you certainly get a more personal sense of that when you deliver meals to their doors. I think, Paul, you deliver as well, don't you? And they're just such need. So that brought us to the senior center and brought me to Jill's office looking to volunteer. I've always volunteer in services is just part of the fabric of our lives. So, and that brought me to this committee.
Well, I'm Jim Sosnowski, and we moved to Fitchburg in 2000. I got involved in the senior center through Jill. Started up the Fitchburg men's group that we meet once a month. Work in the kitchen. We pack the meals for these guys to go and deliver, and we also serve meals on the floor. I've been on this commission for 15 years, I think. So it's been a long time. I've seen a lot of development, a lot of concern that it just goes on and on and on, like transportation. This is the closest I've seen about today of getting a resolution for the transportation problem. I'm a retired teacher, and
What did you teach?
mostly middle school, 7th grade.
Here in Madison?
No, in Green Bay area.
You have to love middle school. I was a middle school teacher.
Right, yeah,
Assistant
yeah.
principal. You have to love them or
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one.
there's no in between.
No, yeah.
All right.
So my wife is also involved at the senior centers. We live up on Hatchery Hill in the condos up there. That's why I was sitting there talking about the Cahill main hub for the bus transit, because and
It's close to
done a lot of volunteering in a lot of other places, but lots of time here. Paul?
My name's Paul Pittis. I've been a Fitchburg resident since 1982. My wife and I are empty nesters. We live just up the hill up on Lacey Heights here. I spent all of my professional career in communications. I started out in television news here in Madison, and but most of my career has been in the corporate communications PR field. I spent 22 years as Director of Communications for Dean Health System, now SSM. And then after that, I spent 10 years as Director of PR and Communications at Culver's, the restaurant chain. So I've been retired for about 3.5 years, and I've been with the commission, I think maybe 1.5 years or so. 2 years,
Longer.
maybe longer. You'll have to look that up, Jill. But I echo your thoughts about being a volunteer for Meals on Wheels. You see things, and you see needs, and this is an opportunity for to me have some input into how we serve our senior citizens here. So.
Gail?
Hi, I'm Gail Schauer. I represent the Fitchburg Senior Center Friends, which is a 501c3 organization that does support for different kinds of clients that and needs of people at the senior center. That Jill comes to our board meetings and tells us about different needs, and then we vote on whether we will support those needs or not support those needs. And we've lived here about, 6 years in Fitchburg. I'm born and raised in Wisconsin in Mayville, which is a small town. I always say we were temporarily displaced to Illinois for 30 years and, in Rockford, and we enjoyed living there, though. It was very nice. And I was a critical care nurse there, and my husband was a general surgeon there. And I was involved in different activities as far as fundraising. I did a lot of fundraising things, so that's why I'm on the board for the Friends. And I was in Junior League, Red Cross, medical foundation boards where we give scholarships for medical education. And so I'm a guest here, so sometimes I'm like dying to say things, but I am just observing. So if you say, well, how come she doesn't ever say anything? I'm a guest, so it's not my place to say anything here. I'll talk back and forth to Jill about things after. But either Jerry Kelly, who's the president of the Fitchburg Senior Center Friends, will come, or I will come to the meetings. We alternate usually, so. And then we bring back what you discuss here to our board and tell them what went on.
Years ago, it used to be required in the bylaws that a person on the Friends would actually serve on the Commission on Aging. And then that got switched up because the terms were always cattywampus and stuff. So now we just invite a liaison every single month, so there's open communication back and forth between the two boards, so, yeah, so thanks, Gail. All right.
And who are you?
Can I say something?
Yeah.
But I agree with what they were saying about getting close. When you volunteer, you certainly learn more and see what's really going on. I neglected to say I've been on the committee here for a year. However, I've been really involved in terms of focusing on inclusion. And one of the things I certainly invite everybody, but particularly their new members to a program that I'm running down at the Senior Center is Lunch and Learn, where I bring in various business owners and companies to come in and speak to older adults, because oftentimes those that come there for lunch, they don't have an opportunity to participate in other programs. And so this is an opportunity for them to learn and interact and socialize and learn a lot more. So the Lunch and Learn is every first and third Wednesday of each month. And so I certainly invite you all to come in and see that. I also, in terms of inclusion of Jill and I worked, we actually had the first Black History Month program here at the center, as well as we did the Her Story, where we brought great community, it was a women's event here in the Fitchburg area. We brought women in that are doing great things here in our community. A lot of times people don't know what's going on. So it's really about inclusion on various levels. And so I just wanted to share that there so that you guys know some of the things that's going on and invite you to attend, as I invite everybody always to come and attend and participate and help in the Lunch and Learns.
Do those come out like via email when they come, or is it just kind of just regularly scheduled that we're gonna have it at this time?
They're regularly scheduled, but they're in the newsletter as well.
I'll
and
send
then
you a
there's
flyer.
flyers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think next week is the plant lunch and learn.
Then next week is a Felly's
So I'll be
Greenhouse
there.
is coming. Yeah.
And it moves-
Last month it was affordable dental care. We've had Madison Gas and Electric. We've got Culver's coming up.
Yeah,
We've
yeah.
got Fact TV
Are
coming.
you bringing samples?
Yeah.
Paul's not
We
coming.
can-
got it.
Is
We-
Craig,
I've
is
got it.
Craig coming?
And
Craig
that's what.
Palmer? Is Craig
Really?
Palmer coming?
Yes, Craig.
That's like a movie star.
Yeah, so,
in
but there's
Wisconsin.
just a variety. I mean, we've had, pharmacists come and talk to them. We've had fall prevention come. So there's just a variety. I tried to do a variety of things,
But I
but
think, Janice, the even better, all those people, is Janice is bringing people of color in for speakers. And that's been really important, and I'm really grateful for her connections in the way, because that's what's showing more diversity, and we haven't done a lot of that. And, that was something that Janice pointed out, I was like, oh, duh, like, this is a great idea. So I'm just really appreciative of that too.
and
So-
it's so nice to see those lunch, the Lunch and Learns, the light bulbs go up, and
Yeah.
older adults, they really appreciate
Yes.
you
Yeah.
taking time and do that. So the
Yeah.
seniors, kudos to the Senior Center for doing that.
It's good information too.
It is, it's
Yeah,
great.
very
Yeah,
really
so-
Good information.
This is a really strong, like, I'm really excited about this board here. We got good things coming, yeah, so.
Culver samples.
All right, we'll keep moving, because
Okay, so everybody had a chance to look at the draft minutes that Jill sent out. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? If not, do I hear a motion for approval?
Motion?
I would second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, minutes are passed. Agenda items, we will move down now to the item number 5, report from the Senior Center Friends from Gail.
Okay. Well, thank you everybody for coming or supporting the pancake breakfast, which is our major fundraiser for the year. We did great. There were 554 diners served, and almost 50 of those were children, which was really nice. We saw a lot of families coming out and having a great time and enjoying the day. Last year, there were 588 served, but you know, it was about the same, you know, so and we had a lot of donations. We had a little donation buckets out, and we made some money on the raffle that the senior housing lady that was there, I can't remember what's
The
it-
courtyard.
Courtyard, yeah. And so we did really well, so thank you all for that. Our next fundraiser will be on Friday, August 16th. It'll be a brat lunch, and it'll be a dine-in, carry-out, or drive-up. And usually a lot of the people from the campus here will come over, and so just walk over and support that. And
I'm sorry, what was the date?
Friday, August 16th.
Thank you.
And otherwise, as far as needs, special needs that we do, there was a total of $455 put out for $26 of that was for a medical alert pin for someone, $54 for the McKee Parks. Someone lost their keys and couldn't get in, so they didn't have the funds to pay for that, so we paid for that. $131 for a computer, somebody to come and fix a man's computer that got infested with the virus. $227 for an overdue MGE bill that someone couldn't pay. $16 for an Uber ride. And one thing I wanted to mention is we don't just like take over someone's MGE bill and pay for it all the time. Or any of these things like the medical alert, the things like that, that we try, for the lost key, we try to get some money back from them for paying for those things, because we want people to be accountable for their own lives. And so most of the time, one of the requirements is that we do make them pay for part of the fees for the things that we're giving them. We did a $20 scholarship for one of the programs, or one of the exercise programs. The social workers had little tickets that they were giving out to encourage people to come when they went to the high rises to come to our meals, and we donated $47 toward those tickets. Also just things that regularly occur, like the newspaper for $229 a month, and then we also donated $300 for the flowers for outside near the patio area that we're gonna have up over there. And let's see if there's anything else. I think that's all, thank you.
And just some background about the special needs funds. Those requests, as the social workers work with clients, and that's where those requests come from, through the social workers, like the MG&E bill or the program scholarships, that's in the newsletter.
And that's one thing that, people like Jill had said in one of the last meetings, people think, oh, the senior center, most cities, the senior center is all fun and games and things like that, but our senior center has working social workers that deal with clients that in the city of Fitchburg, which is unusual for a senior center. So that's where a lot of these special needs come from, or that's where all the special needs come from, through the social workers.
And volunteering through Meals on Wheels gives us a chance to, as much access as we have to these residences. We're looking for, is there bruises from a fall, or unopened mail,
Some kind of need they may have.
excess clutter. Lots of times I'll come back and I'll say,
Yeah.
you might want to check in on this individual.
And that's another thing, because where I came from in Rockford, the senior center did not deal with
Outside
Meals
of
on
Dane
Wheels.
County, they don't.
Meals on Wheels.
Yeah.
I mean, the hospitals were the ones that you went to the hospital. I did Meals on Wheels in Rockford, and you went to the hospitals, you picked up the meals.
Yeah.
And each hospital, they had a separate Meals on Wheels
Right.
person that ran the whole thing and had a big committee, and,
Yeah.
it was, but here, this
It's
is all
different in
our
Dane
senior
County.
center that
Yep.
does all that stuff here, so.
Yeah.
So there's so many needs that, seniors have from it on so many different levels. And you guys see that on Meals and Wheels. I see it, at the lunch and learns. For example, I'm having MG&E come out in October to help them with filling out applications for energy assistance.
Yep.
So there's so many different needs out there,
Lots of needs.
that they have, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much.
That's great, thank you.
Director's report.
Okay, so I think I'll start with some city stuff. The city's going through a strategic plan. Donald and I will be at a meeting tonight from 3 to 8, where all the council and the mayor and the department heads are getting together and talk about the city's visions and goals and where we're heading. And this is the first time that I've participated in this. I know about 30 years ago, my boss, there was one time that they did a strategic planning session where they went off-site, but since then, nothing like this has happened. So I'm kind of looking forward to working with these planners. We all have one-on-ones with them as well, so I'll keep you posted where that's going. We talked, go ahead.
But is that all department heads and
Yes.
the mayor and all department
Yep,
heads?
and then all alders too, which is
Yeah,
really nice.
That's great.
Yeah.
Strategic plan is definitely needed, yeah.
Yeah, so, and it's good to, it kind of falls in line with the referendum information. I will send you that link again. I thought that I watched the committee of the whole meeting and it was interesting to hear the results of the referendum. They do have to decide not only about funding, but, are they gonna roll it out in August or November? And so they'll make those decisions, I assume, this pretty soon.
Yes.
So that's coming down the pike, and again, my question about transportation, there's a lot of moving parts right now in this city. There's a lot of expenses, there's a lot going on with the police facility, and there's just a lot, so it's just an interesting time, so. I did want to just get some brief background to Vance and Donald about our county funding when we talk about social work services. So we're called a focal point of service, and Dane County gives us funding for our social work program. They also give us funding for our nutrition program. So this year, we were funded $150,000 by Dane County, with $87,000 going to the case management program, and then the other $45,000 going to the nutrition program. And then we have the ability to bill for folks that are on medical assistance up to $17,500. So what that means is that we have the opportunity, but if there's another service provider that is helping folks that are on medical assistance, like Journey Mental Health, comprehensive community services, family care, we can't bill. They'll take priority. They decide who is doing the most. Well, I don't know how they decide that is technically fair, so we might get denied. So there's a lot of folks that are on family care that we help. And we do a lot for people on family care, but we technically can't bill for our time. But those folks on family care are coming in, we're helping with rides. Family care, if somebody is evicted, they don't help with moving, so we have to find housing. So we're dealing with a lot of folks right now on family care that we cannot bill for. We certainly track our hours though. So the money that we're allocated is determined by a formula from Dane County. And I will have somebody come in and explain that formula because it's so confusing, but it's really just, the county says, all right, we're gonna set aside, I think we're up to maybe $800,000 for case management nutrition. And then they put this money into a formula that looks at diversity, it looks at rural versus urban, it looks at folks that are on food share, so income levels, it looks at ages, maybe you're a percentage of 85 over, you're gonna get a different percentage of funding. So they drop that into the formula and then it gets spit out to 12 focal points throughout Dane County. So that's how that works. We're lucky to have that. The county funding is non-mandated. At any moment that can go away. The nutrition funding comes from the federal government through the Older Americans Act. So that's usually secured to help offset the cost of the nutrition program. So the funding doesn't cover a ton of our budget, but it is nice to have. So every year you'll see a county contract come through that we have to approve. And generally in the fall, I start to do a lot of advocacy to get more funding for us. Or the focal points as a whole. So just some background information about that. We are seeing more challenging clients, just as you said, you see people that I might not talk about often, but the case managers see a lot in Fitchburg. Most recently, there was a referral from building inspection with a gentleman who was using his front yard as a bathroom. And we don't know if he has any working plumbing, and this gentleman won't let anybody in the house. And so these sort of situations take a long time. Lots of work with APS, Adult Protective Services. Oftentimes it's very difficult to get them to pick up a case because if people are considered their own person, they will not step in. And then if less two doctors say you're incompetent, they're considered their own person. So we do a lot of work with people that are considered their own person, even though they're making really, really bad decisions and living in situations that look very unlivable. Oftentimes there's just nothing we can do until the EMS and the police calls get so high that then they might consider it self-neglect, and then you try to go through the process of getting them declared incompetent. So a lot of time spent with that. We do currently have 25 seniors signed up for, it was called an Independent Living Support Program, and it was grants that came through the state to give individuals up to $7,000 to help with services at home. They put an end to it. They closed it because they don't have enough staff at Dane County to manage the grant program. So right now we do have 25 folks that are getting extra funds to either help with personal care, hoarding cleanup, moving expenses, anything like that, and they have to use that money by, I think it's next spring. So we've done a lot of work with that. So that's kind of the big guts things. More on a program-wise, it's Older Americans Month. We had 85 people on a list that are 90 years and older. And so we sent invites. We'll celebrate them on May 22nd. The mayor's coming down. And so we recognize our people that are 90 plus, but all are invited. I was going to mention Janice's Lunch and Learns are just awesome and going really well. I'm very grateful for that program. We kicked off a Spanish social group last fall, and Sylvia and Alberto, who Sylvia speaks limited English, but they've done a great job of growing this program with the help of the social workers trying to refer our Latino Spanish-speaking older adults. And this Monday they had up to 10. So that was great to see. The program is growing and people are feeling comfortable. And I have a liaison, Jesus, who's on there who speaks English, so he can now interpret for me, which is so much easier. So I'm really excited about that. We've been going through an accreditation, a state accreditation through the Wisconsin Association of Senior Centers. That's, we get accredited every 5 years, and I have a volunteer working on that, and she's wrapping that up this month. And so that's good, and it just goes through a multiple, things to make sure we're hitting some target things. Let's see, I know I've mentioned to you guys about the toolkit for inclusion. And this is to really take a look at the senior center, the staff, our programs, our volunteers, to make sure that we are welcoming to all, and that we're meeting different criteria. And so we're pulling together a multicultural work group, and we're up to 5 folks. We have representation from a Black person, a Hispanic person, a lesbian person, and 2 white people at this point. And so we hope to kick this off in May. And they'll go through this toolkit that was developed particularly for senior centers, and then they'll meet monthly, and then they'll come back with recommendations that will be presented to the commission that we will then move forward on, and then hopefully have a big celebration at the end of, it's in the fall sometime next month to kind of just, celebrate what we've accomplished. So working on that, and I think that's kind of everything. The newsletter's got a lot of stuff coming up, so always take a look at that, and that's my report.
Can I just say one thing? I wanted for the lunch and learn, I just want to give credit to Paul for Culver. He worked with me and he's bringing Craig Culver in, so
Thank you.
I want to let people know that it's with our lunch and learn, but the credit goes to Paul for that particular section.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
I think you'll enjoy him.
Yeah.
He tells a good story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He looks like a
interesting guy.
storyteller.
Yeah.
We've had him here what about 5 years ago?
Oh, it's been longer than that, yeah. But I was like, he didn't bring us any, coupons, no, and so I was like, so.
You guys didn't ask, so I
You
asked.
probably, I just assumed, right?
I said no.
She's got, I just gave them to her this morning.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Oh,
Yeah, I forget, yeah.
And let me just extend offer to all of you, if you have someone that you'd like to have come to the luncheon and speak, let me know. That's how Paul and I started talking, and he said, hey, how about, I've got Craig covered. Of course, yes, that would be great.
Yeah.
So I welcome all of you, if you've got ideas and, suggestions, you as well at the end.
Yeah,
That's a guess,
Yeah.
I'm open to that.
Absolutely. And I think it just speaks to, we run a good center because we have people like you doing all these wonderful things. I mean, when it boils down to it, it's Dave and I that are doing activities. I pull other people in, of course, but, so I just love it. And I feel, and Bonds is doing nails. It's little things like this that we're able to do because of wonderful people.
The lady saw me yesterday and
Oh, are they ready?
they were like, are you setting up now? I said, no, see, I do it once a month.
Yeah,
Once a
yeah.
month.
So we have somebody else we're gonna partner because it's a popular program, so.
It is.
So that is my report, and I think before we wrap it up, I just wanna talk quickly about transportation and that initiative. Is that something we wanna look at, is really advocating for that 65 route now, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Because that will give us Metro Plus here, so.
That will.
Which is the big piece. That's the door-to-door service, right?
Right.
And what about the serving the west side? If the 75 goes as not a commuter route,
Like
would
West
the
Verona.
west side, would we be?
I'll look into that.
Because maybe we should be advocating for both of them, if indeed we can get the,
Right. Well, and I'll get more information. To be honest, I was not really aware of the $80,000 that was put in the budget for
why
us to
hasn't it
do.
saying something?
Well, a little bit, but it wasn't a conversation that we had because I'm not sure where that figure came from. And then back to transportation, we are doing a Friday Fun Day, twice a month starting in June. So we have this money for supplemental transportation, because our transportation usually ends at 12:30 or 1. But I was able to pin down Transit Solutions, who is willing to bring people at 1 and take them home at 3. And we can use this $7,200, and it's gonna be Friday Fun Day with food and games, and I'm gonna look to the friends to maybe kick it off with some sort of drawing and giveaway to really recruit people to come. I think we get them in the doors, once they see, it'll be good. So we'll start that in June, and we're gonna do that twice a month on Fridays. So looking forward to that, and using that transportation money to see, to put my money where my mouth is. Like, everybody wants to come to the center. Well, what if nobody does? Like, what if I got a bus and nobody gets on it? But I think they will as soon as they get there and they learn all the great things that we can offer. So, working on that.
This question, when you were referring to the west side, where area are you speaking of? Just for clarification.
Dunn's Marsh area is part of Fitchburg now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and Allied Drive, now, is that part of Fitchburg, or is that just
It always has
Madison?
been. It's really confusing.
It's like a line, like right down the middle. So
Right.
like
Yeah.
depending on which side you're
Yep.
talking about is
Yep.
Fitchburg, the other side is Madison.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm talking about that area because the only bus really that I know of that goes out that way is the 75.
Yeah, that is true. And even across Verona Road, I mean, the
Yeah.
clients that I'm
Yeah,
talking about are.
I just want a clarification, because
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Okay, they'll cross Verona.
Yeah, we need something across Verona Road.
Yeah.
And that is and I will say, that is a neglected area.
Yeah.
We don't, we do have clients over there, but in terms of really outreach and trying to bring them over here.
Right.
And so that is a focus that we definitely
Very
have.
much so,
Yeah.
very much needed.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, I think the 75 goes
Up to Target.
Up to Target and turns.
I'm not sure which way it turns,
So
so.
it does cross Verona Road, so if that was a permanent thing, we could get some people in that window on each side.
Before the 4 years, before the bus rapid transit, so. So this was a good discussion, so thank you all.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions for Jill?
Can I ask a question real quick? And maybe it's just me, but it sounds like there's a couple people. At some point, maybe at the next meeting, can somebody put up a map and show us exactly what our outline is of the city?
Isn't
I
it
always
right
think I
there?
know, well,
That's an old one, I think.
That's an old one?
I'll get something.
But I think
for
it's nice, like when he was talking about transportation, it's nice to know where these corners are. Some of you guys are real familiar, so, oh, I know where that corner is, yada, yada.
Right.
Sometimes he mentioned like Target, I know those buildings that were just put up because I've been looking for an apartment. So I know where that area is, but some areas, I don't have any idea where it ends or begins. And it'd be nice for me anyway, but
Well,
maybe
I-
everybody else knows and
I
I
can
don't.
do that, and then I can plug in the apartments, you know, so people really have an idea of some of that density.
Yeah.
And I can work with the GIS, the gentleman that does GIS. I don't know if they can pull in data, I don't know if you know much about GIS, if they can pull in ages, like pockets of where older adults live. I mean, I know there's census data that I think they can pull into that, which would be really
What is
helpful.
GIS?
Graphic information
That's
system.
it, graphic, so they can do a lot of cool stuff. He did a presentation to the department heads, and I was like, oh, that's a really strong tool that we
It'll
can.
kind of look like that map of the far right one where
Oh, this one?
they'll show you like they can look at from a satellite, they look down and like show you a geographic area
Okay.
Yeah,
with
yeah,
like visuals and not just like like that one, but like actual buildings and stuff.
yeah,
And that's what you're saying, they maybe even say this is this
Yeah.
building,
yeah, he can do that.
Chapel Valley
Dakota,
and yada,
yeah.
yada. Okay,
Yeah, so I'll reach out to Dakota, so,
thank you.
okay.
Okay. Any other announcements? Our next meeting is June 13th. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
I motion that we adjourn this.
Second.
All in favor?
Alright.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I called you back.